I'm going to show you how to use Google Calendar. The first thing we're going to go through is this home screen of the Google Calendar. Now, if we look at the left hand side, we have our calendar here. It's a mini calendar compared to what we have taking up the main portion of the screen. And here we can see different days, we can click on different days, we can even move into different months in the future, and we can even move back into previous months as well as needed. So if we need to have a look at something in December, we can click on it and the main calendar will adjust. You also have this today button, which will take you back to today's date in your calendar if you want to have a look at what you're doing today. In the top left of the screen, we have this main menu. If we click it, it will hide the left pane here so you can get a larger view of your main calendar. And if you ever want it back, you can click on it for it to return. You may have noticed that when it was hidden, the create new item or event was visible. So that remains visible even if you hide this pane where you have the mini calendar and your other calendars. Now, if we move along the top, we have these arrows like we did on the mini calendar to move between different months. And then we have the month name. And then if we go a little bit further across to the right, we have a search. So if you want to look for an event, for example, you can use that. Then you have a support icon to reach out to support. And you can even click on settings to access the settings menu. And then over here to the right, you have your viewer. So you can change the aspect of your view. So looking at calendar events for your day, your week, your month, your year, your schedule. And then we have your switches. So you can switch to looking at your calendar or to Google Tasks. And then you have the standard Google Apps launcher here on the top right next to your Google account. If we have a look at our main calendar, we can see there are different ways that events on our calendar are displayed. If we have a look at events like this one, these are filled in showing all day events. And then if we have a look at other ones which aren't filled in but have a dot to the left of the event, these are events with a specific time period on that day. So as you can see here, we've got senior stakeholder away days here, and that's an all-day event on this date of the 2nd of April. And then we can see these one-to-one sessions which are taking up specific slots on given days and have the appropriate colours next to them. Now we're going to have a look at viewing your calendar. So as you can see here, we have it in a monthly view looking at March this year. Now we can use the view menu and we can select a different period. So we can select day, for example, to show today, week, for example, to show our week. We can do month, which is what we were looking at earlier. We can even have a look at our year. Makes it a little harder to look at specific events in that, but you can have a look at your overall year. You can even have a look at your schedule, which will just highlight when you have events and activities happening. So for example, the 2nd of March, 3rd of March, 4th of March, there's nothing between the 5th and the 9th. And you can have a 4-day view, so looking at 4 specific days. Now, if we have a look, you can see there are little letters to the right hand side of each of the options in the view menu. Now, how this works is you can use those letters as shortcuts to switch between the views within Google Calendar. So if I was to hit the letter D on my keyboard, it would switch to the day view. If I was to hit the letter W, for example, it would switch to the view of a week. If I was to hit the letter M, it would switch to our monthly view. If I was to hit Y, it would switch to our yearly view. If I was to hit A, we would go back to that schedule view. And if I was to hit X, it would go back to our 4-day view. I'm just going to switch it back to the monthly view. And what we're going to do is we're going to play around with some of the other settings. So if we were wanting to turn off our visibility of weekends, we can do that by just having a Monday to Friday view. This may be exactly what you're looking for if you're using Google Workspace or Google Calendar in a corporate perspective. If you work Monday to Fridays only, you don't really want to have a look at what's on the weekends because you don't work on those days. But if you ever do need to turn it back on, you can go back to the view menu and then click on show weekends and it will reappear on your calendar view. You can also navigate the main calendar. So as you see, we're here in the month view. Now, if we move to a week view, for example, you see we have our week in view. Now, if we use the arrows here, we can move to the next screen or move forward in our calendar, so next week. And if we use the back button, or we will move into the previous week. So that's just one way you can also navigate your calendar. If you want to look for a specific date as well, you can also use the mini calendar, which is here on the left hand side. If you have just the calendar in view, just click on the main menu, 3 lines in the top left next to the calendar icon. And when you get that, you can also navigate between all the months by using the forward arrow and using the back arrow. You can also search your calendar by using the search icon here. So once you click on it, it will pop up a search. And let's say we were looking for one-to-ones with Ella. We could type in Ella, and as you can see, it starts searching through. So if we click on this one, we can see it brings up that our one-to-ones. But let's say we are looking for senior stakeholder days, for example. We can also search for that. So if I type in senior, we can start seeing when we've got some senior stakeholder days. We've got a past event, we've got a future event, and another future event. And if we click on that, it pops up the same way again, and we can see the event that we have clicked on, which was the 22nd of May. And we can see the details, and we can go and edit, create an invite link, whatever else is required for this event. There are also advanced options to searching in your Google Calendar. So if you click on the search icon, you may have also noticed this little drop down arrow. Now, if you expand it, you can add more details to filter down what you're searching for. So if you're looking for an event with a specific keyword like normal, you'd put that in your what. If you're looking for something with a specific person, an event, a creator, like who else is participating in that meeting, for example, you can put that in the who field. Then you've got the where field, where you could put the room, a location, something that it can search to filter that way. And you can also do a negative. So if you know it doesn't have, let's for example say I'm looking for something with Ella, but it doesn't have the word one-to-one in, I could put Ella up here, and I could put one-to-one down here, and it would exclude that. And we would also be able to filter and search via date. So we could look between a specific date frame, which is really useful if you know something happens, say the first week of February, and you need to search for a meeting, but you can't remember exactly what. You can also use this filter to help out. And if you make any mistakes, you can also just reset your search criteria. You can create a calendar event by going to the Create button in the top left above the mini calendar. And if you click on that, you can click on Event and you can create your event. What you can also do is you can either, if you don't have the left pane visible, is just click on the Create plus button and then click on Event. Or what you can do is you can click where you need an event, So let's say I need one on the 27th, and then I can create my event that way. But let's go via the create menu, and let's say we want to create an event. You get this little pop-up window, and here you can add the event name. You can also choose the time of the event and what time zone it is, whether it repeats or not. You can also add guests. You can also add your Google Meet meeting if that's relevant or required, a location, and you can add a description or attachments. And you can set some things too. Now let's click on more options to bring this up in full view. So let's say we have an event for the 27th of March from 2 to 3 o'clock. And let's call it Jimmy 1-to-1, for example. This is just an example. You can name it to whatever event you need. And then we can add some details. And we can put regular catch up, for example, in here based on this meeting. You can also change the notification, whether it appears half an hour before, or if you want it 10 minutes before, you can do that. You can also do 10 hours before. That might be more relevant for if you've got an all-day reminder that you are on leave, for example. And let's do 10 minutes. We want it to show people as busy, and we just want it to have the normal visibility. But here you can set whether you want the event to be visible to people, so public, or if you want it private, so no one can see the details of the event. You can also add a location. So here you can put where the event is happening, and here I might put meeting room 5, for example. And then you can also invite guests. So you can add their email addresses here, and then you can also dictate what they have permission to do. So you could either allow them to modify the event, you can allow them to forward the event, so invite others, and you can allow them to see the guest list. But let's say we've added who we need to, and we click save. It then appears in our calendar for that day and that time. You can create a recurring event by... Now, to create a recurring event, you can create a normal event first. And then what you can do is you click on the section where you've got the time, which you can set the time zone, and you have this does not repeat field. If you click on that and change it to daily, for example, you can then put something in there like take medication, for example, and you can change the time for that, and it will repeat daily. And you can click save, and as you can see, it adds in a notification about that. And you can also edit this, so you can add more information whether you need it on there. You can set it to private, and it will occur daily. You can also amend that, so if you click on the drop down, you get custom, and you can tell it to repeat it every day until a certain time, or after a specific number of occurrences. So if I say end it on the 7th of April 2026, or I can click on that and change it to, let's say, the 31st of July, and click done. Once I click save, if we go forward into July, we can see it continues up to there, but not until the 1st of August. Or we can amend that to a different sort of schedule and say, end it after, let's say, 130 occurrences, and hit done. Once you're happy with it, click save, edit recurring event, let's say all events, and click OK. And as you can see, it expands and disappears where needed. So if it was more than the number of occurrences between when we had set and the 31st, it would go beyond into August, but the number we put in 130 was less, so as you can see, it's only gone up to about the middle of July. Now some event options which you may be or you may not be familiar with in Google Calendar. So let's say we're creating an event on the 26th and we click on the 26th. By default, it may show that it is an all-day event, and you know this because it just says what day to what day. But we're gonna put in something as a title for this before we go ahead and look at those options. So let's call it a celebration evening, and I'm just going to hit save, and as you see, it creates it for us. Now if we click into celebration evening, it's already given us a fancy sort of banner, but we're going to click edit so we can actually get to the different options which we can set. Now, as you can see, we have all day ticked, so it's an all day event. And one of the things that comes with it being an all day event is that the notification will generally be the day before at 5 o'clock. But you can amend this yourself to make it at 4 o'clock or to change this. But if the event is not an all day event, and let's say it's an evening event, so let's say it's from 5:30 until, let's say, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, we can set that as well, and the notification defaults to 30 minutes before. You can obviously change this, but you can also add more notifications to it. So if you click add notification, you get given a 10-minute before notification, but you can change this to be, let's say, 3, and we can change the minutes to hours. So people get notified 3 hours before instead. You can also give people an email notification. So if you click on add notification, you get this notification here again at the bottom. If you click on notification, you are given a different option, and this time it's an email. And let's say you want people to be notified earlier in the morning, and we want people to get that notification at about 9-10 o'clock. So what you might do here is you might change the 10 to 8 and change the minutes to hours. So people will receive an email notification about the celebration evening 8 hours before. Now, for any good celebration evening, you need an event location. So here we can add the location. So let's say it's the Shard. We can type in the Shard and we start getting options to which we can click that, and then we can go away and send this event out so people know where we are going for this evening. If it was a different location, be like a pub, we could type something like Brewdog, and let's say it was at Brewdog in Waterloo, it would also choose that option. And if it was another location like Fire Station, then you can have a look for that on here. But if you were to say only know the address of it or the postcode, you can put that in as well. But we're just going to put in a random location for this, and we're going to do King's Palace, for example. This isn't actually where the location is, but let's put that in to show this for the moment. You also have the option of the color for the event, so you can choose any color you want for it. We're going to go for a graphite, be something different. And you can also show how this looks in people's calendars. So for this, we want it to show people as busy. And do we want this visible to everyone, or do we want it private? So if someone looked at your calendar, then all they would see was that you were busy, instead of seeing that you have an event with all these details. This might be what you opt for if you are in the planning stages and you just need to lock it off in your calendar, for example. But we're just going to choose private for the moment. And you can also add a description. So this is where you can also add details, dress codes, and anything relevant you feel is needed for your event, for our celebration evening, for example. And one good thing on top is if this was happening in a different country and this event was happening in America, for example, or in Europe, and you know that the event will be happening at 3 o'clock in that time zone, you can then go to time zone, and rather than you having to wonder, oh, is it 3 minus 7 because they're 7 hours behind, rather than you having to calculate all that math in your head, what you can do is you can change the time zone. So if it was happening in, say, Mexico, for example, you could look for Mexico City on here. If it was happening in France, you could look for Paris, for example. It's a long list of different options that you can go through on here. And once you found the time zone, so let's say it's going to be in Qatar, we could choose the Qatar one and click OK, and that will appear as the 5:30 in the Qatar time zone. But if you've made a mistake and you accidentally applied this and it's going to be in your time zone in the UK or wherever you are in the world, just click on time zone and use current time zone, and it will return back to default. And then once you are happy with your event and you finished editing the different options available, you can click save and it will appear in your calendar. You can also play around with your calendar settings too. So if you go to settings cog and then click on settings, you can also set a few different things. So you can set your language in your region. So if you need to change it because you are French speaking, you can click French and it will update. So if we click reload now, the page is now written in French. You can also change your country, but we're going to switch this back to English just so we fully get and understand everything which is on screen. You can also set your country. You can also choose a preferred date format. And you can also choose a time format which you prefer, be it in 12-hour or 24-hour, and that will update against your calendar. You can also choose a time zone which you want to have your events visible in. So you have your primary time zone, but you can also have a secondary time zone. So if you commonly move between, let's say, the UK and New York, you can then go and have a look for New York or let's say Los Angeles, for example, and you can have both of these time zones visible. So if we type in UK as a label on the UK one and LA for Los Angeles, once that updates and saves, if we go back to our calendar, and let's say we choose this celebration evening and we go into it to edit, we can see that this dictates the UK time zone. Now, this is obviously something that appears only once you make these changes. But if you also don't want a secondary time zone and you set one up, you can just untick it and it will remove it for you. You can also remove the labels if you don't need them any longer. So I'm just going to clear that out. You can also show the world clock. So you can have several different time zones shown. So you can have UK, you could have, let's say, Los Angeles. You can add more than one time zone. So if we refresh this and we come back to our left pane, we can see two different time zones. United Kingdom, where it's 9:04 at the moment, 9:05, and Los Angeles being 2:05 in the morning. You can also change the default for event meetings. So by default, it may appear as 60 minutes, but you can reduce that to 30 if you prefer that. There is also a new option called speedy meetings, which means that for a 30-minute meeting, it will end at 5 minutes earlier. So it will be 25 minutes. And for anything longer than that, then it will be 10 minutes shorter. So if we click speedy meetings, we can see the default duration has reduced to 25. Now, if we look at 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 80 minutes, these are all the different durations which have changed. But if we untick speedy minutes and we clicked, we want a 2-hour meeting, a speedy minute meeting would change it to an hour and 50. So if we change this back to 25, we want that as our new default. So if we go to settings and let's say we want an event on the 27th, actually let's just create an event. And as you see today, it goes from 9:30 to 9:55. So you see it's already applied that 25 quick meeting, speedy meeting feature. You can also change when you invite guests, whether they can invite others, see the guest list, and so on here in the event settings too. You can also have a look at the view options for your calendar. So you can show weekends, declined events, completed tasks, week numbers. You can also change what day of the week your week starts on. You can change the custom view, so 4 days, 5 days, 7 days, 3 weeks, whatever it is you want. You can also reduce the brightness of past events. So if they're in the past, they won't show up as brightly, for example. And we can have a look at that now if we toggle some of these on. So as you can see, a week number has appeared on the left-hand side here. And for days with events in the past, you can see that they are grayed out and they are not as bright. So if we also had an event, let's say today at 8 a.m. So we're just going to choose 8 a.m. and I put it as test in past. And we hit save, we can see that shows in the past on the same day as today. And we can change that, and if we want things to be different, like the days of the week beginning on a Monday, we can update that as well, and it will reflect as well in the view. You can also get your Google Calendar to show events automatically created by Gmail. So this is where you have that toggled on. So if you had an email arrive because of a hotel reservation or a restaurant reservation, Gmail will create that into your Google Calendar directly. And you also have the option of toggling on or off keyboard shortcuts. And to see a list of these, you can do and press the Shift key as well as the question mark or / key, because you need to hit the question mark, and once you hit that you get a list of keyboard shortcuts. And what you can do is you can view all of these by clicking view all in Help Center, so you can see different shortcuts within your Google Calendar. Now let's say we want to edit an event. So to do this, we can click on the event that we want to edit, and then if you click on the pencil, you can edit the event and it will bring up the screen to edit it. You can also reschedule an event by clicking on the event and dragging it to a new day. So as you can see, whilst I'm moving it over different days, it's already trying to adjust. So if I drop it here on the 23rd, you can see it moves it from the 27th to the 23rd at the same time. You can also change and reschedule an event by going to edit it and then choosing a new date and time. If you click on the date, a calendar picker will appear. And then if you choose a time, you can then change when it is. So let's say 2:15 to 2:45, for example. And when you're happy with it, click save. If we want to go ahead and duplicate an event, we can do that simply in Google Calendar. Just select the event that you want from the grid and then go to the three dots and hit duplicate. And then you'll get the same screen with the same details of the original event. Then you can change the date, so go to the calendar picker and choose a new date, and you can even change the time. So let's say 11:15 to 11:45 and hit save. And as you can see, it takes on the new time of the duplicated event and it puts it on the 30th of March in this example. If, however, you want to delete an event, you can do that simply by clicking on the event and then clicking delete. And there you go, the event will be deleted. If, however, you want to restore a deleted event, you can do that too. Just go to the settings cog up here and then click bin. And then here you will see events you have deleted. And let's say we actually want to restore the one for the 30th of March at 11:15. If we go to the restore icon and click it, it will restore it to our calendar. So if we click the back arrow to go back to our calendar, we can see the 11:15 event on the 30th of March has been restored. Let's say, for example, you also want to print your calendar. You can do that as well. So let's say we want to print between a specific date range, or if we want to print our calendar as it is, we can do that. If we go to the settings cog, we get an option to print. Now here we've got a date range here which is automatically selected, which is the 1st of March to the 4th of April. And it's auto-sized it for us. And we have options. We can have it automatic. We can just show days, to which it will print all of that. It can do weeks, so you have a landscape view, or you can just let it automatically size it as it has done here. You can choose the font size, so you can have it be the smallest font possible, the largest font possible, or just leave it as normal. You can also choose the orientation, so whether you want it to be portrait or landscape. So for that, let's have a look at what portrait looks like, and then also what landscape also looks like. And then you can also choose the color and style. So you can either go for an outline, full color, which will take in the colors of each of the events, or incomplete black and white. But let's put it in full color for the moment. And then let's say we want it to not show weekends. So the weekends will disappear. So you have that Monday to Friday view only. And you can also have the option to show events that you have declined by ticking that, or leaving it unticked by default. And when you're happy with it, click print, and then it will send it off to print, to which we're just going to print it to a PDF. And as you can see, this is what the layout looks like. And then once you're happy, choose your printer as usual and then hit print. I also mentioned you could choose the date range. So if we go back to that print option, we can also change the range as well. So we could make it to the 30th of April. We could even do it as the 20th to the 30th of April as well. We can even make it as long or as short as we need. And then you can go and print the same way. You can also print a specific event in your Google Calendar. So let's say we want to print the Senior Stakeholder Away Day, because there's an itinerary in here and we want to just have it on hand. So if we go to the three dots in our event, we can click print. And then what happens is Google opens up a new tab with a PDF of your event. And then here you have the name of the event, when it is, and you also have the description of the event plus any other notes you may have. And then once you are happy with it, what you can do is then go and click print and print it to your printer. Or if you want to save this as a PDF, you can also print it to PDF. Now to schedule a meeting, you can do this via your Google Calendar. So if you go to create and click event, now what you can do here is, on the option where you see add guests, this is where you can start adding people's email addresses. So I'm just going to put in a dummy email address here. That will be one of the recipients, and let's say we're going to have it for 3 o'clock on the 1st of April. And we're going to call it catch up, for example, and then click save. Now it's asking if we would like to send invitations, and we're going to hit back to editing because we're not fully ready yet. But what we've also seen is that Google Meet has decided to opt in and already activate this as a Google Meet meeting. Now with this, you can then click on the settings to then have a look at the Google Meet options for your call, to which you can activate host management. You can then also play with whether people can send messages in chat, who can access the meeting content, etc. So we're just going to leave it as this for the moment. And here we have our permissions for our guests. And once you are ready to do so, you can then click save and then click send to send the invite to your guests and recipients. Now, what we can also do is, if it was an in-person meeting, what we could do is go back into this and click on edit. And we could also remove Google Meet from here. Once we're done and we're happy with that, we can then click save and hit send. And then what it will do is it will update the Google Meet meeting from our Google Calendar. But if at any point we do want to add one in manually and Google Calendar hasn't already added it, if you click on your event and hit edit, you can then click on add Google Meet meeting and it will automatically create one for you. If you do need to find a different time, you can click find a time and you can have a look between your calendars. But let's say this one we actually want to move it because it clashes with a different meeting. We could then click 4 till 4:25 and hit save and then hit send. We can also have a look at whether people have responded to our meeting. So if we click on catch up, we can then view if anyone has responded, and we can see that our guest has responded to the meeting because we can see 2 yeses here. So that's a nice way you can track meeting responses. And if you ever need to RSVP to an event, you'll have this going option to which you can click yes, no, or maybe, and if you click it, it will update in your calendar and update on the list. So as you can see, I've clicked maybe, and now it says a question mark instead of a tick, and it says 1 yes, 1 maybe. But if I click yes, it then reverts to responded yes to catch up, and there you go, it's updated the responses in the meeting. Now let's say we're going to change the owner of a meeting and it's not going to be us. We can come into here, and what we can do is we can go to the 3 dot options and we can click change owner. And then here we can put who we'd like to change it to. And then once we're happy with it, we can then click change owner. You can create a note from your Google Calendar. So to do this, have a look for the keep little yellow sticky note with the light bulb on it. If you click on it, it opens up a side panel for your Google Keep notes. And what you can do here is you can click on the plus to take a note, and then you can start making notes. Things for baby shower. You know, you might think of things like stuff you need to do for events, things you need to plan for, and you can use it just like a normal Google Keep note. And once you're done, click done. And if you need to archive it, you can archive it, delete it, or you can open it directly into Google Keep. If you click open and keep, it will open in a new tab. And here you can add more things like checklists and so on as needed. If you do need to create a list, you just need to click on the checkbox and that will create a list for you. And in here, what you can do is you can list things out. So I'm going to just put some stuff like shopping list, for example, and you can add these and create your list. Now, if you no longer need a specific note or a specific list, what you can do is you can click on the three dots and you can click delete, and it will move it to your Google Keep notes bin, where you can restore it for up to 7 days from deleting it. You can even access Google Tasks from your Google Calendar. Now, this also links into reminders. So if we click on Google Tasks, we can see some reminders we have in here. And as you can see, they are set for today at 2 o'clock, and they are in our calendar for today at 2 o'clock. Now, what we can do is we can create a task. And let's say I'm buying baby shower cake. And let's say I'm doing that tomorrow. I can mark that as tomorrow and it appears under tomorrow. Now, if I click on that, I can set a specific time. So if I set 11:30 and click done, it moves to 11:30. So you can see how you can set a specific time for your task and reminder. Now, if you need to go and edit a task, you can just click on the three dots, or you can just click on the actual task and you will be able to edit it. But if you do it from your main calendar, you can just click on it and click edit task and update the information as well. And if you have completed a task, for example, so let's say I went shopping, I can then click on these to close it, and it puts a line through them in our calendar, and it won't ping a reminder when they go off. But let's also say you don't need a reminder any longer. What you can do is you can click on the task, click on the recycle bin, and it will delete the task for you. Any completed tasks also show at the bottom here. So if you've also accidentally completed a task, you can also click on it and click mark uncompleted, and it reopens for you. We can even create a task list. So to do this, we can click on my tasks and click create new list. And we're just going to call this baby shower, for example. And let's say we're going to add all the baby shower related tasks in here. Now, what we can do in here is we can click add a task, put in the details of things that we need and items that we require. And once we do that, we can also switch between our task lists. If, for example, I've put this go shopping one in the wrong one, I can click on the three dots and click baby shower, and it moves it over to baby shower. And the same is also available here. If you've accidentally moved it into the wrong one, you can move it back. But let's say you've got a different task that you are creating, and let's say it's an event at F1 Arcade and you've got planning to do for that and you've put it in the wrong one. You can click on the three dots and you can create an entirely new list, for example. So let's do that and hit enter to create it, and it will move it over into that for us. And you can still set the dates when you want things to be sorted, and you can click done, and you can start seeing these follow into our calendars. And if we have a look at it and we click on it, we can see this one is part of F1 Arcade list. And if we go over to the baby shower and I put the venue selection as, let's say, the 31st of March, if I click on that one, we can then see the baby shower task list. If you'd like to install an add-on, you can do this by going to the settings cog and clicking get add-ons. Now, once you click on it, you'll get a little workspace marketplace, and here you can go through looking for the add-on that you wish to add. Now, let's say we want this one from Tactic. Once you click on it, you can then click on install, and you'll need to give it permission as well to your calendar. If you want to create a new calendar, you can do this by going to other calendars and clicking on the plus, and then click create new calendar. Now we're going to call this our planning calendar. And once you're happy with the name and the description, we're just then going to hit create calendar. Now, once it's created the calendar, we should see it here. Now we can click on configure at the bottom. And here we can configure different items that we need. Is it available to the public? Who we want to share it with? And more. But we're not going to delve too much into this at the moment. Now, let's say you want to add a shared calendar from someone else. You can do this too. So you could either click on add a shared calendar there, or you can click on the plus and click subscribe to calendar. And now what you can do here is you can put in the email address of the person whose calendar you want to add. So I'm just going to put furryavenger@gmail.com, and as you see we get some emails, and if this is the person's email address, then you click on it and then you can request that person to send and share their calendar with you if they have one. You can also view and hide different calendars from your left hand pane. So let's say we want to hide, for example, holidays in the UK. If I click it, you see it disappears from this view. If I click on the checkbox, it reappears. If I want to remove my calendar events, they disappear. I can do the same for tasks. I can do the same for mine and just have a look at the holidays. So you can really customize these as you go along. Now, let's say you want to remove a calendar that you have subscribed to. You can do this by clicking on the three dots and clicking settings. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom and click on subscribe, it will remove the calendar for you. Now, if we go back, we can see that the shared calendar we added is now no longer here.